Troubleshooting nodes. In this video, we're going to get into troubleshooting nodes. Now, the problem with troubleshooting nodes is there's so many things that can go wrong on a node that you might have to troubleshoot. So what I'm actually going to do is give you 3 examples in this video. And those 3 examples will hopefully give you a bit of guidance on how to go through the process of troubleshooting a node rather than giving you the fix for every single thing that can go wrong with a node. So with that in mind, I have nothing to add. Let's just get into it. So we have a fairly quick one for you today, and hopefully it will help you just with your diagnosis of nodes and kubelets. Let's just quickly go through a few things. Now, let's imagine someone's come along and said, I'm having a few issues with nodes. It looks like things aren't responding the way they're supposed to, or the marking is not ready, or maybe your alerting system's come back and said stuff's not ready. And then you come along as a user and say, or an administrator, and say, well, you know, this MariaDB is running on Kubernetes and I can see that this is working. I can come in and create a database and everything's fine. You know, if I come here now and do test, that works. You know, I've just created the database test and I can see it's connected, it's working, it's doing what it's supposed to do. That doesn't necessarily mean everything's functioning correctly. Okay, so yeah, I can interact with stuff, but we also know that this is an IP that routes through to node ports, which then route through to containers running. So there might be containers running, but there might still be an issue with the nodes. So someone's reported the nodes are not working properly. So we do kubectl get nodes. Always a good place to start. And sure enough, yeah, there's 3 nodes here that are marked as not ready. That's weird, right? So I guess let's just start troubleshooting. Let's take the first one. We'll do kubectl get node, and we will take a look at that. In fact, we won't get it, we'll describe it. And yeah, sure enough, there is a problem here. Look, there's an error at the bottom that it says while dialing Unix. Okay, yeah, so we've got a problem. It's not able to see the socket file for containerd. That could be an error with containerd. It could be the containerd service isn't working correctly. It could be it's configured incorrectly. There's a few things that could be. So there's not really much more we can do from here with kubectl. So let's take a look at the node itself. So I'll do ssh ubuntu 192.168.0.211, pop my password in, jump into sudo, and then let's take a look. So I'm going to do systemctl status and containerd. I'm also going to spell that correctly, systemctl. And sure enough, yeah, there it is. Look, it's stopped. It's inactive. So something's come along and killed this, or somebody's come along and accidentally stopped it. It was me. And yeah, it's not working. Cool. And we can see here, look, here's the run that it was supposed to have. Right, okay, I guess the first thing we can do is we could check the logs. We could see if there was a problem. We could do journal, ctl, I'll stick enough in there as well, just in case, and containerd. Yeah, it just looks like someone stopped it. Look, you can see here that someone was stopping it and they've accidentally left it off. It's not died, it's not been killed, it's not had an error, it's just been stopped. Whoops, someone stopped the service. Well, let's see if we can fix this just by starting it then, shall we? We'll go ahead, jump back over here, we'll change this to start and check what's going on. Okay, yeah, looks like that's coming up. Now, it might be that there is an error with it and it won't start up correctly, in which case you'd need to read the containerd logs to see what's going on with containerd. Now, I've not created an error in containerd itself, but you can see now where I'd go next. If there was an issue, maybe it'd come up and say there's an error in the configuration file, in which case we could look at the TOML file for it. So there might be an incorrect configuration in here somewhere, in which case we'd have to dig into it and have a look what the configuration might be, what it's expecting, and so on. So there's a bunch of things we can check there, but I think that's probably it. You know, I think, I know it is. I've created these errors, so I know what the problems are, but obviously I'm trying to give you an idea of where we go to have a look at this stuff. So if we give this about a minute, it should come back online. In fact, before I do just wait for that, let's have a look at the logs for Kubelet as well. Yeah, okay, we can see here, look, it's saying the same. Failed to connect to containerd basically. So if we just give that a minute, it will connect and then it should kick in. Interestingly, it doesn't come straight back up. Ah, okay. Now it looks like it's doing something. Okay, cool. So now if we go back, yeah, there we go. So we're ready. Kubelet's picked up containerd running and off it goes to do all its bits and bobs. So one node fixed. What was the next node? It was worker 1 and then worker 2. So let's go ahead and describe worker 1. See what's going on over here. That's not really giving us anything, is it? It's just telling us that the node's not ready. Cool. Okay, so let's jump onto that node then and take a look at that. So again, put my password in, jump into super user. Okay, so I'll just do the same thing again. I'll get journal CTL going. I'll do xef and then you and Kubelet. Let's take a look at that. So in this case, it looks like someone stopped the Kubelet. Maybe they were doing something and needed to restart it and actually just did a stop command and didn't do a start. It doesn't look like any errors have happened. It looks like a legitimate stop command has been run. You could go through and check the history of this node. Just press up a few times and see what's going on. And maybe it's in there somewhere. So I'm not seeing a stop command for it. Maybe it was done. Maybe they did it as a normal user. Ah, that looks suspicious, doesn't it? So someone stopped it. It was me. And yeah, okay. Let's just try starting it then, I guess. So we'll do start. We'll run it with sudo and then we'll just go and check to see if that came up straight away. It should have just come up straight away, that. Yeah, okay, so that's another node fixed. Brilliant. Didn't even have to check the logs for that one too much further than we did. And I mean, we could have just checked the state of the service if we wanted to. We just could have done systemctl status kubelet and that would have told us straight away that it was inactive. But it's nice to check the logs to make sure it didn't fail. Okay, so finally we've got this worker 2. Let's take a look at this one. So we'll describe worker 2. Okay, we've got another node not ready, so it isn't container D again. I can't imagine it's gonna, I can't have done 2, right? You know, no one would stop 2 kubelets. Surely it's something else. I think something suspicious is going, well, let's check that history first. No, so there's nothing there. So let's take a look at sudo su. And did anyone do it here? Oh, there's a restart command there. Oh, there's an edit of the config there as well. Let's just have a look at those logs. We'll do journal ctl. We'll do xef and then u, and then we'll do kubelets. Oh, this looks like it's failing. There's a lot of restarts happening here. Yeah, this is restarting over and over again. Look, we can see this green text here is indicating to me that something's failing and restarting and failing and restarting. So yeah, we've got some exit codes here. Let's have a look at the actual errors itself. So this is just a notification. This is just an information. And then we've got this one starting with E, which is an error. So let's take a look. Command failed. Failed to load the kubelet config file. Well, we saw that edit of the config file, so that was suspicious anyway. And it's failed to load the config file, which was the config file we saw that was edited. And no kind of kubelet configuration, which is registered for the version beta 12. Okay, so something's wrong in the kind. Let's go and take a look at that. I mean, there, v1 beta 12 is that a legit API? Surely it's not beta 12, but we'll check. We can go and check, you know. So I'll do vim. Get that command open that we saw, and sure enough, there it is, API version, kubelet.config.qks.io, v1 beta 12. Now, maybe I'm not a professional administrator who knows every single API version that comes along. So in this case, I might need to do a little bit more digging. Like, you know, is this legit? Is this a good thing? So what we can do is take a look at the documentation, and in here, we will see some information, I believe, under reference, configuration APIs, and then let's just have a look for the kubelet. So down here somewhere, keep scrolling. Got kubelet v1, alpha 1, beta 1. I don't see a beta 12 there. So let's have a look at this. Okay, that doesn't look like the one we're using for the kubelet configuration. Well, I mean, it was a beta one, wasn't it? So should we just have a look at the beta one and see what that looks like? So where was that? I think I've just lost it. And there it is. Let's take a look at this one. So this has things like static pod URL, address port, read-only port. Let's take a look. Static pod path. I saw that a second ago. Static pod path. Okay. So authentication. We've got authentication there. This looks a lot like the one we're using, actually. If we have a look at some of these down the side here. Memory swap. Memory swap. Yeah. Okay. I think this might be the one. I think someone's put a 2 on the end when it should have been a 1. It was me. So we'll go ahead and delete that 2. Let's write that out. And look at the logs. Oh, straight away, look, it's already started coming up. And yeah, there we go. That node's ready now. So that was a fairly easy fix, but it just took a little bit more digging into to check that API version because it looked a bit suspicious. But, you know, I didn't know everything about the API, so I had to go and check that. So there's a few examples. I told you there's not going to be a massive amount of demos here because obviously there's only so many errors I can simulate without random errors occurring. So another error I could have simulated was to fill the disk. So if I filled the disk of the system, then the kubelet might start responding as not ready because it's not able to run any new pods. So disk pressure becomes a thing, it's tainted as such, and yeah, it can't run any more pods, so it marks itself as not ready. Another issue might be that the kernel operating system's failed. So if there's a kernel panic or something like that, it would mark itself as not ready because it can't communicate with the kubelet. In that case, you'd be trying to connect to the node, it wouldn't work. and then you'd have to go and check the physical node if that's what it was, or the VM to see if there's kernel panic or something like that going on. Another thing that could cause it is network issues. If the kubelet can't communicate with the API server for whatever reason, maybe the network's gone down in between the two, then that would also cause it to mark itself as not ready. It doesn't necessarily mean that things won't run. Now, if I had the containerd issue on all 3 nodes, then the containers wouldn't run. But as you saw, I was still able to interact with MariaDB. It didn't indicate to me that there was nodes down, more that there was just an issue with the configuration of the nodes. So there can be a bunch of things you might need to check. There's a bunch of different things that might cause it. There might be a taint that suddenly appears. There is a lot of information that you can get out of the events, but sometimes it will just also say the node isn't ready, in which case you have to jump on the node, probably check the kubelet first, I will say, because that's always a good source for information. Even if it's something else that's causing the problem, the kubelet will generally tell you what's going on. So for example, if it's unable to connect to the API server, it will tell you that. If it's unable to run something because containerd is down, it will tell you that. So yeah, kubelet's always a good place to start, and then it should lead you to other places to go and check should you need to. And as I promised, it's a short one because that's everything. And that's your lot. That's all you're getting from me on this. I realize there's only 3 examples and they're very specific cases, but as I've been saying, it's kind of like, it's to get you going on the process of what you might do. You know, where do you start? What do you do next? And what would be the next steps from that? Now, you know, I could have done a networking example where I don't know, shut down my router or something, or put some dodgy firewalls in place to block traffic. But again, I'm then just showing you like logging onto a router and changing the firewall. It's a bit hard to simulate issues that are very specific to what you might see in real life. Now, you know, a container misconfiguration or a kubelet crashing or something like that, or someone just accidentally stopping it, they can happen, but they're not as common as other things that might happen, such as someone upstream from you creating a network issue. And you don't know about that because they're upstream from you. They're someone else. They're in the network team. They're creating firewall rules somewhere, and that's, you know, causing problems on traffic. So yeah, it's a bit of an introduction on where to start, but it's not a foolproof guide in this video. And I appreciate that there's going to be some stuff that you're probably still wondering about now. And, you know, ask if you want. I can try and help where I can in comments and that. But again, it's always, the issues I've ever had with nodes have always been very different to the previous one. So it's more just getting you going. It's more going, check the descriptions, you know, describe the nodes, check the events, log into the nodes, check the kubelet, check the services that the kubelet relies on, containerd, things like that. And then if you still can't find a problem, start reaching out to other teams. Has something changed over here? Has something changed over there? I've had it before where the network team did create an issue for us, and we spent, you know, probably a good half an hour to an hour troubleshooting nodes, trying to figure out what was going on, only to realise that actually it was nothing to do with what we'd done. So things can go wrong. They not can go wrong, they do go wrong. And it's just about how you locate the cause of that problem, or the source of that problem. In the next video, we're going to be taking a look at init containers. Now, that's going to be another really short video because it's just running a container that's an init container. So it's probably going to be like a 5 to 10 minute video, that one. I might try and get 2 videos out next week. No promises, but I might try. We'll see. So, yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next one.